This is Jasmine Lovetail's story. Everyone feared the Alpha King's fiancée, not because she shouted, not because she threatened, but because, when Eliana Bullock entered a room, silence followed her like law. Omegas learned to disappear before she arrived. Servants learned to breathe quietly, and no one, absolutely no one, ever raised a hand against her. Until the morning, an Omega maid did. One slap, one heartbeat, one moment that shattered fear, loyalty, and the future of the Moonfall Pack forever. And the most dangerous part? Alpha King Jace Moran was watching. Hey, quick question. How are you feeling right now? Thank you so much for being here. It truly means more than you know. I'm building Jasmine Love Tales toward 1,000 subscribers. And if this story is already tightening something in your chest, please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support helps this channel grow in ways I can't explain. All right. Let's go back to the moment when fear ruled the Moonfall Pack and one Omega refused to kneel. Chapter 1. The Moonfall Estate wasn't built to be beautiful. It was built to remind you of your place. Stone walls rose 3 stories high, corridors stretched longer than necessary, and every door closed with a sound that echoed through your bones. The floors were polished so thoroughly that servants could see their reflections staring back, small, bent, invisible. And at the center of it all stood Alpha King Jace Moran. Calm, controlled, absolute. But it wasn't Jace who made the staff tremble. It was her. Eliana Bullock moved through the estate, like winter itself, beautiful, sharp, and deadly if you weren't careful. Her heels clicked against marble floors in a rhythm everyone had memorized. 3 seconds after that sound began, Omegas vanished into doorways. Servants pressed themselves against walls. Even the higher-ranking wolves found sudden reasons to be elsewhere. Kylie Tanner had been working at the estate for 6 months, and she'd learned the rules faster than most. Rule 1. Don't make eye contact with Eliana. Rule 2. Finish your work before she arrives. Rule 3. If she speaks to you, the correct answer is always, "Yes, ma'am," or "Right away, ma'am." Rule 4. Never, ever give her a reason to remember your name. Kylie was good at being invisible. She'd been practicing her whole life. As an Omega in the Moonfall Pack, invisibility wasn't just survival, it was strategy. You learned to move quietly, work efficiently, and keep your thoughts so far inside your head that even you forgot they existed. Most days, it worked. Today was not most days. Kylie stood in the main sitting room, mop in hand, bucket at her feet, silently cursing the universe for making her responsible for the Eastern Wing. On a morning when Eliana had decided to host a breakfast meeting with visiting pack elders, the room needed to be spotless. The furniture needed to be arranged perfectly, and Kylie needed to be gone before Eliana arrived. She glanced at the clock mounted above the fireplace. 20 minutes. She could do this. She moved quickly, wiping down surfaces, adjusting cushions, and repositioning the heavy oak chairs around the long table. One chair near the window seemed crooked, so she nudged it back into place with her hip. It scraped, loudly. Kylie froze. The door at the far end of the room opened. Her heart dropped straight through the floor. But it wasn't Eliana. It was Jace. The Alpha King walked in without announcement, without guards, without the heavy presence most alphas carried like armor. He wore simple, dark clothing, his hair slightly damp, as though he'd just come from training. His expression was unreadable, not cold, not warm, just steady. Kylie immediately dropped her gaze and stepped back, pressing herself against the wall. "Your Majesty," she whispered. Jace didn't respond right away. He crossed the room slowly, his footsteps quiet compared to Eliana's sharp clicks. He stopped near the table, scanning the setup with the kind of focus that made Kylie's pulse stutter. Then he sat down, in the chair she'd just moved. Kylie's breath caught. The chair slid, just slightly. Just enough. Jace paused. He shifted his weight, testing the chair's balance. Then he looked up at her. Was it always this slippery? He asked. His tone wasn't accusing. It was curious, almost amused. Kylie's brain scrambled for an answer that wouldn't get her fired. Yes, sir, she said quickly. It was not. She'd polished these floors yesterday, and they were perfect. The chair wasn't slippery. She'd just placed it poorly. Jace's eyes lingered on her for a moment longer than necessary. Then he nodded slowly and stood, moving to a different seat without comment. Kylie exhaled. She finished the rest of her work in record time, keeping her head down and her movements efficient. When she finally slipped out of the room, her hands were trembling, not from fear, from the strangest feeling that the Alpha King had just let her lie to him, and he'd known. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of tasks. Kylie scrubbed floors, delivered linens, and restocked the kitchens alongside the other Omega staff. The work was endless, but it was predictable, safe, until Gabriella Parra leaned in close while they folded tablecloths in the storage room. Did you hear? Gabriella whispered. Kylie glanced up. Gabriella was younger, sharper, and far too comfortable with gossip for someone who worked in a house ruled by fear. Hear what? Kylie asked. Eliana's been watching you. Kylie's hands stilled. What? She asked Emery McIntyre, who cleaned the sitting room this morning. Gabriella continued, her voice dropping even lower. Emery said your name. Kylie's stomach tightened. Why would she ask that? Gabriella shrugged, but her expression was grim. Because you did something, or didn't do something, or breathed wrong. Who knows? But when Eliana starts asking about you, it's never good. Kylie forced herself to keep folding. I didn't do anything. Doesn't matter, Gabriella muttered. She'll find something. Later that afternoon, Kylie carried a tray of tea to the library, where Eliana often spent her evenings reading correspondence. The walk felt longer than usual. Her pulse hammered in her ears. When she entered, Eliana was seated by the window, sunlight catching the gold threads in her gown. She looked like a painting, flawless, untouchable, cold. Kylie set the tray down on the side table without a word. You're the one who cleaned the sitting room this morning, Eliana said. It wasn't a question. Yes, ma'am, Kylie replied quietly. Eliana didn't look at her. She lifted her teacup, took a slow sip, and set it down with a soft clink. The chairs were crooked, Eliana said. Kylie's throat tightened. I apologize, ma'am. It won't happen again. No, Eliana agreed. It won't. The silence stretched. Kylie waited for dismissal. It didn't come. Finally, Eliana turned her head, her pale eyes locking onto Kylie's face. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. Kylie's instinct screamed at her to drop her gaze. But she didn't. She met Eliana's stare, keeping her expression neutral, her breathing steady. Eliana's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Interesting, she murmured. Then she waved her hand. Leave. Kylie left. But the weight of that look followed her all the way back to the servants' quarters. That night, Kylie lay in her narrow bed, staring at the ceiling. Around her, the other Omegas whispered in the dark. She's marked you, someone murmured. Eliana doesn't forget, another added. May the moon protect you, Gabriella said softly from the bunk beside her. Kylie didn't respond. She didn't need protection. She needed to be more invisible. But somewhere deep inside, a small, reckless part of her whispered something dangerous. What if I stopped trying to disappear? She crushed the thought immediately. That kind of thinking got Omegas killed. Or worse, noticed. Chapter 2. The next morning, the whispers started before breakfast. Kylie heard them while carrying linens through the back hallways. Soft voices, half hidden behind doorways and around corners. She doesn't bow properly. She looks Eliana in the eye. Did you see her yesterday? Bold as brass. May the moon protect her. Kylie kept walking, but her skin prickled. She wasn't bold. She was just tired of shrinking. There was a difference, but apparently no one else saw it that way. By midday, the entire Omega staff knew her name. Not because she'd done something remarkable, but because she'd done something unthinkable. She'd met Eliana's gaze, and she hadn't flinched. In the Moonfall Pack, that was practically rebellion. Kylie's tasks that afternoon were impossible. Eliana had personally assigned them. First, she was told to polish every piece of silverware in the main dining hall, 300 pieces before the evening meal. Then she was sent to scrub the stone steps leading to the east gardens. In the rain, when she finally returned inside, soaked and exhausted, she found a note waiting for her. Report to the main foyer. Immediately. Kylie's hands shook as she read it. She changed into dry clothing, tied her hair back, and walked slowly toward the foyer. Her heart pounded with every step. When she arrived, Eliana was already there. So was half the house staff. Omegas lined the walls, heads bowed. Higher-ranking wolves stood near the staircase, pretending not to watch. And at the center of it all, Eliana stood like a queen holding court. Kylie stopped a respectful distance away. "Come closer," Eliana said. Kylie obeyed. Eliana circled her slowly, her gaze sharp and assessing. "You've been sloppy lately." "I apologize, ma'am," Kylie said quietly. "Your work has been inconsistent. Your attitude has been noted." Kylie said nothing. "Do you have anything to say for yourself?" Kylie hesitated. Every instinct told her to apologize again, to bow lower, to beg forgiveness. But something in her chest refused. "I've done my work, ma'am," she said evenly. "To the best of my ability." The room went still. Eliana's expression didn't change, but her eyes darkened. "The best of your ability," she repeated slowly. "Is that what you call it?" "Yes, ma'am." Eliana stepped closer. "Then your best isn't good enough." Kylie's jaw tightened. "You're dismissed," Eliana said coldly. "For now." Kylie turned to leave, and that's when Eliana's hand shot out and gripped her arm. "Hard," Kylie gasped, pain flaring up her shoulder. "Next time," Eliana whispered, her voice low enough that only Kylie could hear. "Remember who you're speaking to." Then she released her. Kylie walked away on shaking legs, her arm throbbing, her pride bruised but intact. Behind her, the whispers started again. That evening, Kylie sat alone in the servants' dining hall, picking at a bowl of stew she didn't have the appetite to finish. Gabriella slid into the seat across from her. "You're either the bravest Omega I've ever met," Gabriella said quietly, "or the most foolish." Kylie looked up. "I didn't do anything. You didn't bow fast enough. You didn't apologize hard enough. You didn't shrink." Gabriella leaned forward. "That's everything, Kylie." "I'm not trying to challenge her," Kylie muttered. "Doesn't matter. She sees you as one." Kylie set down her spoon. "Then what am I supposed to do?" Gabriella's expression softened. "Survive." But surviving felt impossible when Eliana's attention was a noose tightening daily. The tasks became harder. The criticism is sharper. The public humiliates more frequently. And through it all, Kylie held her ground. Not because she was brave, but because she didn't know how to be smaller than she already was. Late one night, Kylie found herself in the library again, dusting shelves by candlelight. It was her favorite task, quiet, solitary, peaceful. She ran her cloth along the spines of old books, letting her mind wander. "I really should stop giving her reasons to hate me," she muttered under her breath. But apparently breathing counts now. A throat cleared behind her. Kylie spun around. Jace stood in the doorway, one hand resting on the frame, his expression unreadable. Her heart stopped. "Your Majesty," she stammered, dropping into a clumsy bow. I wasn't. You weren't expecting me, he finished calmly. No, sir. He stepped into the room, moving with that same quiet grace she'd noticed before. He didn't look angry. He didn't look at anything. 10 seconds passed. Neither of them moved. The silence stretched so thin Kylie thought it might snap. Finally, Jace spoke. You should be careful. Kylie blinked. Sir? Eliana doesn't forget, he said quietly. And she doesn't forgive. Kylie's throat tightened. I haven't done anything wrong. I know. The simplicity of his answer startled her. He knew. Jace crossed to the window, his back to her. But in this house, doing nothing wrong isn't always enough. Kylie didn't know what to say to that, so she said nothing. After a long moment, Jace turned. His gaze lingered on her face, not invasive, just observant. Finish your work, he said, and stay out of her way. Then he left. Kylie stood there, heart pounding, wondering why the Alpha King had just warned her, and why it felt less like a command and more like concern. Chapter 3. The morning of the incident started like any other. Kylie woke before dawn, dressed quickly, and joined the other Omegas in the main hall for assignments. The head housekeeper, Camila Nguyen, handed out tasks with brisk efficiency. Kylie, you're in the Western drawing room today. Lady Eliana is hosting a gathering of the elder families. Everything must be perfect. Kylie's stomach dropped. Yes, ma'am. Perfect meant Eliana would inspect every surface personally. Perfect meant there was no room for error. Perfect meant Kylie was already doomed. She spent the morning scrubbing, polishing, and arranging until her hands ached. The drawing room gleamed. Every cushion sat exactly right. Every glass sparkled. By midday, the guests began arriving. Kylie stayed out of sight, refilling water pitchers and clearing plates as unobtrusively as possible. She moved like a shadow, practiced and invisible, until she wasn't. Eliana appeared beside her without warning, her voice sharp. You missed a spot. Kylie glanced at the table. There was no spot. Where, ma'am? She asked carefully. Eliana's smile was cold. Everywhere. The guests went quiet. Kylie's pulse thundered in her ears. I'll fix it immediately, she said, setting down her tray. No, Eliana said. You'll stand here, so everyone can see what incompetence looks like. Humiliation burned through Kylie's chest, but she kept her expression neutral. She would not give Eliana the satisfaction. Do you understand me? Eliana demanded. Yes, ma'am. Look at me when I'm speaking to you. Kylie raised her eyes, and Eliana struck her. The slap echoed through the room like thunder. Kylie's cheek exploded with pain. Her vision blurred. The room tilted, but her body moved before her mind could stop it. Her hand flew up, and she slapped Eliana back. The sound was deafening. Eliana stumbled, her hand flying to her cheek, her eyes wide with shock. The entire room froze. No one breathed. No one moved. Kylie's hand throbbed. Her heart hammered so violently she thought it might burst through her ribs. What did I just do? The door at the far end of the room opened. Jace walked in. His gaze swept the scene. Eliana's shocked face, Kylie's trembling hands, the silent guests, and his expression hardened. What happened here? His voice was calm, dangerously calm. Eliana recovered quickly. This Omega struck me, she said, her voice shaking with fury. In front of witnesses. She must be punished. Jace's eyes shifted to Kylie. Is that true? Kylie's throat was so dry she could barely speak. Yes, sir. Why? She struck me first. The room erupted in whispers. Jace raised one hand, and silence fell immediately. He stepped closer, his gaze moving between them. Then he looked at Eliana's cheek, at Kylie's cheek. Both bore identical marks. You struck her first, he said. Not a question. Eliana's jaw tightened. She was disrespectful. I was correcting her. By hitting her. She's an Omega. She needs to learn her place. Jace's expression didn't change. But something in the air shifted. And you, he said quietly, are not her alpha. Eliana went pale. Jace turned to Kylie. Go to your quarters. Now. Kylie didn't need to be told twice. She fled. Behind her, she heard Eliana's voice rising in protest, but Jace's response was too low to hear. If you're still here after that moment, take a second and tell me, did you expect Kylie to strike back? Drop a comment below. What would you have done in her place? And if this story has you holding your breath, don't forget to like and subscribe to Jasmine Love Tales, because what happens next is where everything truly changes. Kylie didn't sleep that night. She lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling, waiting for someone to come and drag her away. But no one came. The other Omegas whispered around her. She's done for. They'll exile her. Or worse. Gabriella sat on the edge of Kylie's bunk, her voice low. What were you thinking? I wasn't, Kylie admitted. My hand just moved. You slapped the Alpha King's fiancé. I know. You're either dead or legend, Gabriella muttered. And I'm not sure which is worse. Kylie closed her eyes. Me neither. The next morning, Camila summoned her. The Alpha King wants to see you, she said, her tone unreadable. Kylie's stomach dropped. Now? Now. She followed Camila through the estate, her legs weak, her mind spinning. When they reached Jace's private study, Camila knocked once and stepped aside. Enter, Jace's voice called. Kylie stepped inside. The room was smaller than she expected, lined with books, maps, and scattered papers. Jace sat behind a desk, his expression as calm as ever. Close the door, he said. She did. He gestured to the chair across from him. Sit. Kylie sat. Jace studied her for a long moment. Then he leaned back in his chair. You slapped Eliana Bullock, he said. Yes, sir. Why? Kylie hesitated. She struck me first. I know. I'm asking why you struck back. Kylie met his gaze. Because I'm tired of pretending pain doesn't matter. Jace's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Do you understand what you've done? He asked quietly. Yes, sir. Do you understand what she'll do to you? Yes, sir. Jace was silent for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. You're reassigned, he said. Effective immediately. You'll work in the library and main house. You won't go near Eliana unless I'm present. Kylie blinked. You're not exiling me? No. Or punishing me? No. She didn't understand. Why? Jace's gaze was steady. Because fear is not respect, and no one under my roof is to be struck. Kylie's throat tightened. Thank you, sir, she whispered. Jace nodded once. Dismissed. She stood, turned toward the door. Kylie. She stopped. Stay out of her way, he said quietly. I can protect you in public, but I can't be everywhere. Kylie nodded, and left. But as she walked back through the estate, one thought burned in her mind. The Alpha King just protected me. Why? Chapter 4. Kylie's new assignment should have been a relief. The library was quiet. The main house was safer. And most importantly, Eliana rarely set foot in either place. But safety came with a price. Whispers followed Kylie everywhere. Why would he reassign her? He's protecting her. Why? Maybe there's something between them. Don't be ridiculous. She's an Omega. Still. He's never protected anyone like this before. Kylie ignored them. She kept her head down, did her work, and tried to become invisible again. But invisibility was harder now, because Jace kept appearing. Not obviously. Not intrusively. Just there. She'd be dusting shelves in the library, and he'd walk in to retrieve a book. She'd be polishing the main hall floors, and he'd pass through on his way to meetings. She'd be arranging flowers in the sitting room, and he'd sit down nearby to read correspondence. It was never announced, never explained, but it happened too often to be a coincidence. 3 days after her reassignment, Kylie was alone in the library, muttering to herself while reorganizing the lower shelves. "This makes no sense," she grumbled quietly. "Who arranges books by color? What kind of—" A throat cleared behind her. Kylie's heart stopped. She turned slowly. Jace sat in the chair by the window. A book lay open in his lap, but his gaze was fixed on her. How long had he been there? "Your Majesty," she stammered, nearly dropping the books in her arms. "I didn't hear you come in." "I gathered," he said evenly. Her face burned. "I apologize. I shouldn't have." "It's fine." She stared at him. He stared back. 10 full seconds passed. Neither of them moved. The silence wasn't uncomfortable. It was just present, heavy, aware. Finally, Kylie cleared her throat. "Did you need something, sir?" "No," Jace said. Then he picked up his book and turned a page. Kylie blinked. She went back to organizing, but her hands shook now, and she could feel his gaze on her even when she wasn't looking. Later that afternoon, Kylie carried fresh linens through the east corridor when she heard raised voices behind a closed door. Eliana's voice. "You humiliated me." Jace's response was too low to hear. "She struck me, Jace, in front of the elders, and you did nothing." "I did what was necessary." "Necessary?" Eliana's laugh was sharp. "You protected an Omega over me. I protected someone who was wronged. She's nothing. She's under my protection. That makes her something." Kylie hurried past before she could hear more, but her chest felt strange, tight, warm, confused. That evening, Kylie returned to the library to finish her work. The sun had set, leaving the room bathed in soft candlelight. She moved quietly, her thoughts scattered. Why was Jace protecting her? Why did he keep appearing? Why did his calm presence make her feel safer and more unsteady at the same time? "You're thinking too loudly." Kylie gasped and spun around. Jace stood in the doorway, arms crossed, his expression unreadable. "I didn't mean to startle you," he said. "You're very good at that, sir," Kylie muttered before she could stop herself. His lips twitched. Almost. He stepped into the room, closing the door quietly behind him. Kylie's pulse quickened. "You should be careful," he said. "You've mentioned that before," Kylie replied. "And yet you're still not listening." She met his gaze. "What exactly am I supposed to do? Hide forever? If it keeps you safe, yes." "I don't want to hide," Kylie said quietly. "I just want to exist without being punished for it." Jace's jaw tightened. He looked away, toward the window, his shoulders tense. "That's not always possible," he said. "Why not?" "Because this pack runs on fear, and fear requires targets." Kylie's chest ached. "Then why are you protecting me?" Jace turned back to her, and for the first time, his expression softened, just slightly. "Because someone should," he said simply. Kylie's breath caught. The air between them thickened. Jace took a step closer, then stopped. "You asked me a question before," he said quietly. "In the council room. You asked why I'm marrying her." Kylie nodded. "Duty," he said. "Alliance, territory, peace, but not love." "No," he admitted. "Not love." Kylie's heart hammered. "Does she know that?" Jace's gaze held hers. "She doesn't care." The silence stretched. Kylie wanted to ask more. "I wanted to understand. Wanted to know why the most powerful man in the pack looked so trapped." But before she could speak, Jace stepped back. "Finish your work," he said. "And be careful walking back to your quarters." Then he left, and Kylie stood alone in the candlelight, her chest tight, her mind spinning, wondering why she suddenly felt like she was standing on the edge of something dangerous. Chapter 5. Eliana's fury didn't explode. It froze. In the days following the slap, she became quieter, colder, more deliberate. Her smiles were sharper, her words are more carefully chosen, and her attention on Kylie never wavered. But she no longer struck. She no longer shouted. Instead, she dismantled it. It started with small things. A suggestion to Camila that Kylie's uniforms were poorly maintained. A comment to the kitchen staff that Kylie's tea service was inconsistent. A quiet word to the laundress that Kylie's linens smelled faintly of mildew. None of it was true. All of it stuck. Kylie found herself reassigned to harder tasks. Her meals were served last. Her bunk was moved to the coldest corner of the servants' quarters. The other Omegas watched it happen and said nothing, because challenging Eliana even indirectly was suicide. One afternoon, Kylie was summoned to serve tea in the drawing room where Eliana entertained guests. Her hands trembled as she poured. The liquid splashed, just barely. Not enough to spill onto the table, enough to be noticed. Eliana's gaze snapped to her. Clumsy. Kylie's jaw tightened. My apologies, ma'am. Is it so difficult to pour tea without making a mess? No, ma'am. Then why do you keep failing? Kylie said nothing. Eliana leaned back in her chair, her smile cold. Perhaps you're not suited for this work. One of the guests, an elder from the Wiley family, cleared his throat. Lady Eliana, the tea is fine. Eliana's smile didn't waver. Of course it is. I was simply making an observation. Kylie finished pouring and stepped back, her heart pounding. As she turned to leave, she caught sight of Jace standing in the doorway. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were on Eliana. Later that evening, Kylie stood in the kitchens, scrubbing dishes with more force than necessary. The tea wanted freedom too, she muttered under her breath. Gabriella snorted from across the room. What? Nothing, Kylie said quickly, but the thought lingered. She wasn't clumsy. Her hands had shaken because Eliana's presence was suffocating, because every movement felt monitored, because fear was exhausting, and Eliana knew it. The breaking point came 3 days later. Eliana entered the main dining hall while Kylie was setting the table for breakfast. The staff scattered immediately, but Kylie was mid-task and couldn't leave without being obvious. So she kept working. Eliana crossed to the window and slammed it shut. The sound cracked through the room like a whip. Everyone jumped. Everyone except Kylie. She kept placing silverware, her movements steady, her breathing controlled. Eliana turned slowly, her gaze locking onto Kylie. Did you not hear that? Eliana asked softly. I did, ma'am, Kylie replied. And yet you didn't react. I was focused on my task, ma'am. Eliana's eyes narrowed. Focused. How admirable. Kylie didn't respond. Eliana took a step closer. Or perhaps you simply don't care. Kylie met her haza. I care about doing my work properly. The room went silent. Eliana's smile was razor thin. Of course you do. Then she turned and walked away, her heels clicking sharply against the floor. But Kylie saw it. The flicker of uncertainty, the crack in the armor. Because for the first time, fear hadn't worked, and Eliana had noticed. That night, Kylie returned to the library to finish organizing the upper shelves. It was too late for most staff to still be working, but she needed the quiet. She climbed the ladder, balancing a stack of books, when she heard footsteps behind her. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. You should be resting, Jace said. So should you, sir, Kylie replied. A pause. Then, you reorganize these shelves. Kylie froze. I'm sorry. I prefer it this way. She blinked and glanced down at him. Jace stood at the base of the ladder, his gaze steady. It's easier to find what I need. Kylie's chest tightened. Oh, did I just accidentally win? Jace's lips curved. Just slightly. Don't look so surprised. I'm not, Kylie lied. He tilted his head. You are. She climbed down carefully, her pulse racing. When she reached the bottom, Jace was closer than she expected, close enough that she could see the faint lines at the corners of his eyes, close enough to feel the warmth radiating from him. She's trying to break you, he said quietly. I know, Kylie replied. And you're not breaking. I'm trying not to. Jace's gaze held hers. Why? Kylie hesitated. Then, because if I break, she wins. Something shifted in Jace's expression. Approval, respect, something else she couldn't name. Be careful, he said again. But this time, it didn't feel like a warning. It felt like a promise. Chapter 6. The summons came at dawn. A formal notice, delivered by Camila herself. You're to appear before the Pack Council, she said, her voice tight. In 1 hour. Kylie's stomach dropped. Why? Camila's expression was grim. Lady Eliana has filed a formal complaint. The council chamber was massive. High ceilings, stone walls, a long table where the pack's most powerful wolves sat in judgment. Kylie stood at the center of the room, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. Eliana sat to the right, her posture perfect, her expression serene. Jace sat at the head of the table, his face unreadable. Elder Chandler Green, the council's leader, spoke first. Kylie Tanner, you stand accused of striking Lady Eliana Bullock, future Luna of the Moonfall Pack. How do you plead? Kylie's voice was steady. I struck her, but she struck me first. Murmurs rippled through the room. Elder Wesson McIntyre leaned forward. That does not excuse your actions. I didn't say it did, Kylie replied. I'm simply stating what happened. You assaulted your superior, Elder Christopher Wiley said sharply. That is grounds for exile. Or worse, Elder Malcolm Para added. Kylie's heart pounded, but she kept her chin high. Eliana rose gracefully. I do not seek exile, she said smoothly. I seek order. This Omega has shown repeated disrespect. She refuses to acknowledge her place. She undermines authority. If we allow this behavior to continue, it sets a dangerous precedent. The council members nodded. What do you propose? Elder Green asked. Removal from the estate, Eliana said. Permanent reassignment to the outer territories. Kylie's breath caught. The outer territories were harsh, isolated. A death sentence for an Omega with no family. Jace's voice cut through the room. No. Every head turned. Eliana's smile faltered. Your Majesty? Jace stood slowly, his presence filling the space. Kylie Tanner will not be exiled. She will not be removed. She will remain under my direct protection. The room erupted. She struck your fiancé, Elder McIntyre protested. After being struck first, Jace said evenly. Which I witnessed. Eliana's jaw tightened. Jace, Alpha King, he corrected quietly. She paled. Jace turned to the council. I will not permit violence against those under my protection. Omega, Beta, or Alpha. It does not matter. This pack will not be ruled by fear. Elder Green frowned. With respect, Your Majesty, this decision could destabilize the alliance with the Bullock family. Then the Bullock family is welcome to reconsider their terms, Jace replied. Eliana shot to her feet. Would you risk our engagement over an Omega? Jace met her gaze. I would risk anything to ensure this pack is governed justly. The silence was deafening. Then, from the back of the room, a nervous voice broke through. Emery, the youngest Omega Maid, had been called as a witness. She stood trembling near the door. She's not lying, Emery said quietly. Everyone turned. Emery swallowed hard. I saw it. Lady Eliana struck Kylie first. Hard. Elder Green's eyes narrowed. Why didn't you speak sooner? Because I was afraid, Emery admitted. We're all afraid. Another Omega stepped forward. Then another. She's been cruel to us for months. She hits when no one's watching. She makes us work until we collapse. The council shifted uncomfortably. Eliana's face went white. These are lies. Enough, Jace said. His voice wasn't loud, but it silenced the room. He looked at Eliana, his expression cold. You will not strike another member of this household. You will not abuse your position. And you will treat every wolf under this roof with the respect they deserve. Eliana's hands clenched into fists. And if I refuse, then our engagement ends. The room exploded into chaos. Pause with me for a second. Did you feel that shift? That wasn't just a council meeting, that was power changing hands. If this story is pulling you in, please support Jasmine Love Tales by subscribing, liking, and sharing it with someone who loves intense love stories. Now, let's go back, because after this moment, nothing stays the same. The council session ended in tense silence. Eliana left without another word, her fury barely contained. Kylie was dismissed, but as she turned to go, Jace's voice stopped her. Kylie. She turned. He stood near the window, his back to the room. Stay cautious. Yes, sir. She won't forgive this. Kylie nodded. I know. Jace turned, his gaze heavy. Neither will I. Her breath caught. He didn't clarify. He didn't need to. Chapter 7. After the council, everything changed. The whispers grew louder. Did you see the way he looked at her? He ended the engagement. For an Omega, she must be his mistress. Don't be ridiculous. Then explain it. No one could. Because there was nothing to explain. Jace hadn't touched her, hadn't pursued her, hadn't so much as smiled at her in public. But the way he defended her, the way he watched her, that told a different story. Kylie tried to ignore it. She focused on her work, kept her head down, avoided Eliana completely. But avoiding Jace was impossible, because he kept finding her. Late at night in the library, early mornings in the gardens, quiet afternoons in the empty hallways. He never announced himself, never explained why he was there. He just was. One evening, Kylie was reshelving books when she made a mistake. She placed a history text in the philosophy section. Jace noticed immediately. That's in the wrong place, he said from across the room. Kylie jumped, nearly dropping the book. I'm sorry, I prefer it there. She blinked. What? Jace crossed to her, his movements slow and deliberate. He reached past her close enough that she could smell cedar and rain, and adjusted the book slightly. There, he said quietly. Perfect. Kylie's heart pounded. You're lying. His lips twitched. Perhaps. Why? He met her gaze. Because you looked terrified. And I didn't want you to be. Kylie's breath hitched. They stood too close. Too still. Too aware. You should finish your work, Jace said, his voice low. But he didn't move. Neither did she. Finally, Jace stepped back. Good night, Kylie. Good night, sir. He left, and Kylie stood there, trembling, wondering how something so small could feel so dangerous. The following week, the tension between them became unbearable. Every glance lingered too long. Every accidental touch felt deliberate. Every silence screamed with things unsaid. One night, Kylie found herself alone in the library again. She should have finished hours ago, but she couldn't leave, because she knew he'd come. And he did. Jace appeared in the doorway, his expression unreadable. You're still here, he said. So are you, Kylie replied. He closed the door behind him. Kylie's pulse raced. We can't keep doing this, she whispered. Doing what? This. Whatever this is. Jace crossed the room slowly. And what do you think this is? Kylie's throat tightened. Dangerous. Yes, he agreed. It is. Then why? Because I'm tired of pretending I don't see you, Jace said quietly. Kylie's breath caught. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. You see me? She whispered. Every time I'm in the same room. Her heart shattered and rebuilt itself in the same breath. I'm an Omega, she said. I don't care. You're the Alpha King. I know. This is impossible. I know that too. They stared at each other, the air between them crackling. Jace's hand lifted slowly. His fingers brushed her cheek so lightly she might have imagined it. But she didn't. Tell me to stop, he said hoarsely. Kylie's voice failed her. Jace's thumb traced the curve of her jaw. His gaze dropped to her lips, lingered. Then he stepped back. Good night, Kylie, he said roughly, and he left before she could respond. Kylie stood there, shaking, her cheek burning where he'd touched her. She should have been relieved. Instead, she felt like she'd lost something she never had. Chapter 8. Eliana's final move came a week later. An ultimatum, delivered privately, in Jace's study, with the full weight of the Bullock family behind it. Choose, she said coldly. Me, or chaos. Jace stood by the window, his jaw tight. You're threatening me. I'm reminding you of reality, Eliana replied. Without our alliance, your borders are vulnerable. Your trade routes are compromised. Your pack is exposed. And with it, I'm trapped. You're protected. Jace turned to face her. At what cost? Eliana's expression hardened. At the cost of doing your duty. My duty is to my pack, not to you. Then your pack will suffer. Jace's eyes darkened. Leave. Jace. Leave. Now. Eliana left, but her threat lingered. That night, Kylie made a decision. She couldn't stay. Not like this. Not when her presence was tearing the pack apart. She packed her few belongings into a small bag and slipped out of the servants' quarters before dawn. She made it as far as the estate gates. Where are you going? She froze. Jace stood in the shadows, fully dressed, arms crossed. How did you? I've been watching you for weeks, Kylie. Did you really think I wouldn't notice you leaving? Her throat tightened. I can't stay. Why? Because I'm destroying everything. You're not. Eliana's family will retaliate. Your pack will suffer. And it's my fault. Jace stepped closer. It's not. Then whose fault is it? Mine, he said quietly, for choosing duty over truth for too long. Kylie's eyes burned. What are you saying? Jace reached for her hand, slowly, carefully, giving her every chance to pull away. She didn't. His fingers closed around hers, warm and solid. I'm saying I'm done pretending, he said. I'm done ruling through fear. I'm done marrying someone I don't love to appease a system I don't believe in. Kylie's breath shook. And what about me? Jace's gaze held hers. What about you? I'm nobody. You're the first person in years who's looked at me and seen more than a title. Her heart cracked open. I can't be your secret, she whispered. I'm not asking you to be. Then what are you asking? Jace stepped closer, his free hand lifting to cup her face. I'm asking you to stay. I'm asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to let me try. Tears slipped down her cheeks. This is impossible. I know. Everyone will hate me. Let them. You'll lose everything. Not if I keep you. Kylie's resolve shattered. She rose onto her toes, closing the space between them, and kissed him. Jace went still for half a breath. Then he pulled her closer, his arms wrapping around her, his mouth moving against hers with a desperation that matched her own. It wasn't soft. It wasn't gentle. It was raw and real and everything she hadn't known she needed. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Jace rested his forehead against hers. Stay, he whispered. Okay, Kylie breathed. But even as she said it, she knew staying meant facing everything she'd been running from. And Jace knew it too. The next day passed in a blur of tension. Kylie returned to her duties, but everything felt different. The air felt heavier, the whispers felt louder, and Jace felt closer even when he wasn't in the same room. That evening, he summoned her to his private chambers. Not his study, his chambers. Kylie's heart pounded as she climbed the stairs, her hands trembling. When she reached his door, she hesitated. Then she knocked. "Come in," Jace's voice called. She stepped inside. The room was warm. Firelight danced across stone walls. Heavy curtains blocked out the night. And at the center of it all, Jace stood by the window, his back to her. "Close the door," he said quietly. Kylie obeyed. When she turned back, Jace was watching her. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes burned. "I asked you here because I need to be honest with you," he said. Kylie's throat tightened. "About what?" "About what I want." Her pulse thundered in her ears. Jace crossed the room slowly, each step deliberate. He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from him. "I want you," he said simply. "Not as a secret, not as a distraction. As for me." Kylie's breath caught. "Jace, but I need to know if you want the same thing," he continued. "Because once we cross this line, there's no going back." Kylie's hands shook. Her mind raced. Her heart screamed. "I want you," she whispered. "I've wanted you since the moment you protected me." Something fierce and possessive flashed in Jace's eyes. He reached for her, his hand sliding into her hair, tilting her face up to his. "Then let me have you," he said hoarsely. And he kissed her. This kiss was different from the one at the gates. That one had been desperate. This one was claiming. Jace's mouth moved against hers with a hunger that made her knees weak. His other hand slid to her waist, pulling her flush against him. Kylie gasped, and he deepened the kiss, his tongue sweeping into her mouth, tasting, exploring, possessing. She clung to him, her fingers digging into his shoulders, her body melting against his. When he finally pulled back, both of them were breathing hard. "Are you sure?" Jace asked, his voice rough. Kylie nodded. "Yes." "Tell me," he demanded. "Say it." "I'm sure," she whispered. "I want this. I want you." Jace's control snapped. He swept her into his arms, carrying her to the bed with an ease that made her heart stutter. He laid her down gently, his body following hers, caging her beneath him. For a moment, he just looked at her. His gaze traced every line of her face, as though memorizing her. "You're beautiful," he murmured. Kylie's cheeks burned. "I'm not—" "You are," he interrupted. "And you're mine." Then he kissed her again. His hands moved over her body, slow and reverent, learning every curve. He traced the line of her collarbone, the dip of her waist, the swell of her hip. Kylie arched into his touch, her breath coming in short gasps. "Jace," she whispered. "I know." He murmured against her throat. "I know." His lips trailed down her neck, finding the sensitive spot just below her ear. He nipped gently, and she cried out softly. "So responsive," he breathed. "I want to know every sound you make." His hands moved to her clothing, carefully removing each layer with a patience that made her ache. When she was finally bare beneath him, he pulled back to look at her. Kylie fought the urge to cover herself, but the heat in his gaze stopped her. "Perfect," Jace said simply. Then he lowered his mouth to her skin. He kissed her slowly, thoroughly, worshipping every inch of her. His lips traced patterns across her collarbone, down the center of her chest, across her stomach. Kylie trembled beneath him, her hands tangling in his hair. "Please," she gasped. "Please what?" Jace murmured against her skin. I need. Tell me, he commanded softly. I need you, Kylie admitted. All of you. Jace groaned, the sound vibrating through her. He moved back up her body, his hands framing her face. Look at me, he said. She opened her eyes, meeting his gaze. I'm going to make you mine, he said, in every way that matters. Kylie nodded, unable to speak. Jace kissed her again, slow and deep, as his body covered hers. The feeling of him against her skin to skin, heat to heat, was overwhelming. Kylie's hands roamed over his back, feeling the muscles shift beneath her touch. You're trembling, Jace murmured. So are you, Kylie replied. He smiled against her lips. You undo me. Then he moved, joining their bodies in one slow, careful thrust. Kylie gasped, her fingers digging into his shoulders. Jace stilled, giving her time to adjust. Are you all right? Yes, she breathed. Don't stop. He didn't. He moved slowly at first, each thrust deliberate and controlled. His gaze never left her face, watching every reaction, every breath. More, Kylie whispered. Jace's control frayed. His movements quickened, deepened, and Kylie met him, thrust for thrust. The world narrowed to just the two of them, the heat between them, the rhythm they created, the sounds they made. Kylie, Jace groaned, his voice strained. I'm here, she gasped. I'm yours. Those words broke him. He buried his face in her neck, his movements becoming desperate, urgent. Kylie felt the pressure building inside her, coiling tighter and tighter until she shattered. Her release crashed over her in waves, and she cried out, clinging to Jace as though he were the only solid thing in the world. Jace followed moments later, his own release shuddering through him with a groan that sounded like her name. They collapsed together, tangled in each other, breathing hard. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Jace rolled to his side, pulling Kylie with him, keeping her close. Stay, he whispered. I'm not going anywhere, Kylie replied. And for the first time in her life, she meant it. Later, as they lay together in the firelight, Jace traced lazy patterns on her skin. What are you thinking? Kylie asked softly. That I should have done this weeks ago, Jace admitted. Kylie smiled. You had an engagement. I had an obligation, he corrected. Not a commitment. What's the difference? One I chose, one I didn't. Kylie turned in his arms to face him. And what do you choose now? Jace's gaze was steady. You, always you. Kylie's throat tightened. Even if it costs you everything? It won't, Jace said, because you're worth more than everything. Tears pricked her eyes. I'm just an Omega. No, Jace said firmly. You're the woman who stood up when everyone else bowed. You're the woman who refused to break. You're the woman who made me remember what it means to lead with honor instead of fear. He kissed her forehead. You're not just an Omega, Kylie. You're mine. Kylie's heart swelled. I love you, she whispered. The words hung in the air between them. Jace went very still. Then he smiled, a real, genuine smile that transformed his entire face. I love you too, he said, and he kissed her again, slow and tender, sealing the promise between them. The next morning, Kylie woke up wrapped in Jace's arms. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting golden light across the room. For a moment, she just lay there, listening to the steady beat of his heart. This was real. She was here, with him, and nothing would ever be the same. Jace stirred beside her, his eyes opening slowly. When he saw her, he smiled. Good morning, Kylie replied. He pulled her closer. Any regrets? None, she said honestly. Good, Jace murmured. Because I'm not letting you go. Kylie laughed softly. What happens now? Jace's expression grew serious. Now we face the pack, together. Fear flickered through her. They'll hate me. Some will, Jace admitted. But others will see what I see. Strength, courage, truth. He cupped her face. And anyone who can't accept that is welcome to leave. Kylie's eyes burned. You'd really do that? I already did, Jace reminded her. Yesterday, when I chose you over everything else. Kylie kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it. When they finally broke apart, Jace rested his forehead against hers. Ready? He asked. Kylie took a deep breath. Ready. Chapter 9. The next morning, Jace called the pack council. No warning, no preamble, just a simple announcement. The engagement with the Bullock family has formally ended. The room erupted. Your Majesty, you can't. We'll lose the alliance. This is madness. Jace raised one hand, and silence fell. The alliance was built on fear, he said calmly. And I will not rule that way. If the Bullock family wishes to renegotiate trade terms, they're welcome to. But I will not marry someone who abuses those under her care. Elder Green leaned forward. And what of the Omega? The rumors are no one's concern but mine, Jace finished. The council stared. This pack, Jace continued, will be governed by respect, by fairness, by strength that doesn't require cruelty. And anyone who cannot accept that is free to leave. No one left, but Elder Wesson spoke up. Your Majesty, with respect the Omega, what is her place in all this? Jace's expression didn't change. Kylie Tanner is under my protection, and she will remain so. What? Elder Christopher pressed. A mistress? As my chosen mate, Jace said quietly. The room went dead silent. Then chaos erupted. Eliana departed the estate that afternoon, her belongings packed, her family furious. As her carriage rolled away, Kylie stood at the window of the library, watching. Jace appeared beside her. How do you feel? He asked. Terrified, Kylie admitted. Good, Jace said. So am I. She glanced at him. You are? Change is terrifying, he replied. But it's necessary. Kylie smiled faintly. What happens now? Now, Jace said, we figure it out, together. Over the following weeks, the pack transformed. Slowly, carefully, but unmistakably, Omegas began speaking up in meetings. Servants stopped flinching when superiors passed, and Kylie, once invisible, became a symbol, not of rebellion, but of dignity. There were challenges, of course. Some pack members refused to accept her. Some elders grumbled about tradition. Some wolves left entirely, but more stayed. And slowly, the Moonfall pack began to change. Fear gave way to respect. Cruelty gave way to fairness. And the house that had once been ruled by terror became a place where people could breathe. One evening, Kylie found herself back in the library, organizing shelves out of habit. Jace appeared in the doorway, as he always did. You don't have to do that anymore, he said. You're not a maid. I know, Kylie replied. But I like it. He smiled. I know you do. He crossed to her, his movements easy now, familiar. Can I tell you something? He asked. Always. I used to think being Alpha King meant being feared. Kylie set down the book she was holding. And now? Now I think it means being trusted. She smiled. How'd you figure that out? Jace's gaze softened. An Omega maid taught me. Kylie laughed, soft and genuine. And in that moment, surrounded by books and candlelight and the quiet warmth of someone who saw her, Kylie realized something. Fear had ruled this house for years. But love, real, defiant, impossible love, was so much stronger. Months later, when pack members spoke of the Alpha King, they no longer described him as fearsome. They described him as fair, as steady, as someone who listened. And when they spoke of Kylie Tanner, the Omega who slapped the Alpha King's fiancée, they spoke of courage, of dignity, of the woman who changed everything by refusing to flinch. Because sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do isn't to fight, it's to stand your ground and refuse to disappear. Thank you for staying until the very end. If Kylie and Jace's journey moved you, if you felt that fear break and love rise, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment telling me the moment that stayed with you the most. Your engagement helps Jasmine Love Tales grow and helps these stories reach the people who need them. Until next time, stay powerful and lovely.